Okay, but you have to check. Yes, you. So, is it clear? Is 2020 over? It is over. Are we at safe distance, though? You hit the intro, I'll grab the chair. This is a top 10 video. So, after a wardrobe change, and Lieutenant Doodle insisting on keeping me safe with a baseball bat. No. You're good. We're going to go ahead and start. 2020 was a year. It was a very long year. A very long 5 years. But there was a lot of great wrestling. For all the failure and flaws that happened. I mean, there were choices to be made. I put out a top 50 on Twitch. If you want to see it, I'll publish the video, actually, before this one goes out. But, you know how top 10 lists work. Here we go. Number 10. Io Shirai vs. Candice LeRae in a Tables, Ladders, and Scares match for the NXT Women's Championship, NXT Halloween Havoc. When NXT brought back properties like In Your House, War Games, and Halloween Havoc, we all assumed it was kind of a hokey cash grab. It totally is, but we all assumed that way. But bringing back Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal might have been the most inspired choice that WWE made all year. With Shotzi Blackheart hosting, who unfortunately doesn't make this list, there was just a palpable tension on a totally not worked wheel. Eventually, we end up with Candice LeRae and Io Shirai in the main event for the NXT Women's Championship in Tables, Ladders, and Scares, which is TLC with, the Scream figure popping out. For as much of a gimmicky Halloween mess as this should have been, it worked so well and on so many levels. I definitely believe that this could have been a match of the year in any other year. Makes 10 on this list. Number 9. AJ Styles vs. Jeff Hardy vs. Sami Zayn in a triple threat ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship, WWE Clash of Champions. This match was, for my money, the best men's championship match on the main roster all year. You had Sami Zayn, who thought himself an uncrowned champion. You had Jeff Hardy, who was the new Intercontinental Champion. You had AJ Styles, who had been beaten for the Intercontinental Championship. You had me in the front row of the Thunderdome. True story. And then on top of that, this story just comes around. Because at the end, you've got Sami Zayn handcuffing Jeff Hardy to a ladder by his earlobe. I don't know about you or what ear fetish somebody has in WWE, but Jeff Hardy really needs to reconsider those ear gauges. Although that may be a little too late. Number 8. Brody Lee vs. Cody for the TNT Championship, Late Night Dynamite, August 22nd, 2020. One of the reasons I held back so long on this list is because of the sudden passing of Brody Lee back on December 26th. I didn't know how much that was going to cloud my vision and how much the recency bias was going to get to me, but I'm not talking about the dog collar match. The dog collar match was great in its own right, but I think to me, this is the match that established who Brody Lee was and what Brody Lee was capable of. And let's be honest, that was a lot. You look at this match and it's just Brody Lee hitting Cody with everything he's got. And let's be honest, there was a lot more to this match if he really wanted it to have it. Number 7, Hangman Adam Page vs. Kenny Omega, World Title Eliminator Finals, AEW Full Gear. This match has the most highly regarded wrestler on the planet, and Kenny Omega. And spoiler, this match goes hard. Going one-on-one for pride and opportunity is one of those things that doesn't happen very often in wrestling. And while there's absolutely an argument made that these two competed in better matches together, I stand by the fact that these two separately put on one of the best matches of 2020, even if I thought the wrong man won. So we're going to take a quick break here. I'm actually going to go ahead and cover some indie matches because I know for a fact that everything on my list, with the exception of the next entry, is a big company match. And I get that indie wrestling, there wasn't a lot of it this year, but what happened was great. Take, for example, Dark Chic versus Still Life with Apricots and Pears from the Collective. This is Effie's Big Gay Brunch. I was floored. These two didn't have to go hell for leather. This wasn't your basic indie spot fest. These two showed off a proficiency and a psychology that made me feel like a fan, kind of out of my own depth. Then you've got Alex Shelley versus Trey Lamar versus your favorite wrestling Twitch streamer's favorite wrestler, Lee Moriarty, in what is probably the best triple threat match at Thunder in Indianapolis. And let's be honest, this match was high-flying junior heavyweight action like you've never seen before. And it's not just, oh, Alex Shelley is the veteran coming in to do stuff. It's not just Lee Moriarty is showing off how amazing he is. It's not just Trey Lamar. Who's that? This is a match that shows that three men can work together in the same match and just make magic. It doesn't matter if it's Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, and Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 2000, or if it's, some other famous triple threat match. Anyway, this match really shows off a lot of range. And of course, the one that I've got to give ups to is probably the MVP of the Collective, AJ Gray versus Desmond Xavier. That was For the Culture. Independent Show of the Year. If you have not seen it, go out of your way, buy it, buy the Collective as a whole. It is insane. It is just... AJ Gray is probably wrestling's best kept secret. And I don't know why. I don't get it. There's just no way that this man should not be making 7 figures on a main roster somewhere. So all that leads to number 6. Allison Kay versus Thunder Rosa for the NWA Women's World Championship, NWA Hard Times. In what's probably the lowest profile match on this list, and the highest ranking indie match I mentioned earlier, we have the absolute war between Thunder Rosa and between Allison Kay. A woman who's accustomed to being the toughest woman in the room, and a woman who always is the toughest woman in the room. I'm not going to tell you who's who. I'm afraid of both of them, but watching these women go hell for leather in what is a really short 18-minute match is nothing less than a thing of beauty. I'm never a fan of kicking out of the tombstone, but I do definitely think that what brings this a little bit higher than the AEW World Title Eliminator match is that the right person won. This was Thunder Rosa's a chance in time. Granted, she'd be champion for most of 2020, not really get a chance to defend the title, except when she got to AEW, which is probably the best decision AEW made regarding their women's division all year. I said it. Number 5. Damian Priest versus Cameron Grimes versus Bronson Reed versus Johnny Gargano versus the Velveteen Dream in a 5-way ladder match for the NXT North American Championship, NXT TakeOver 30. This is probably the dark horse choice of American wrestling in the year. This match came down to Damian Priest, Cameron Grimes, and Bronson Reed. Mostly because you could tell that Gargano and the Velveteen Dream, they didn't need this win. They were there so Johnny Gargano could get squashed, and so Velveteen Dream could just fly into the crowd and off camera and, maybe accidentally end up in the pit of doom. Like, I can hope. The fact that you had 3 competitors, Cameron Grimes, who was this cocky, undersized heel. You had Damian Priest, who was this perfect tweener. This guy who just kind of wanted to do whatever he wanted. That Stone Cold Steve Austin anti-hero. And Bronson Reed, this big dude who's a big baby face, who's like Bam Bam Bigelow. And honestly, check the gear. This match is definitely star caliber written all over it. Number 4. Finn Balor versus Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT Championship, NXT TakeOver 31. How many times can you say that the best match for your brand in a year is the one match that took your top champion out for 3 months? Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor knocked the utter stuffing out of each other. No offense, Doodle. Hey. Anyway, you want to watch this match and you want to be careful. You want to watch these strikes being thrown, these submissions being traded. Eventually, Finn Balor does win with the coup de grace. It's not a pretty win, though. You can see his mouth swollen. And let's be honest, this is just a brutal match to watch. Not the most brutal match of the year, though. Number 3. Gallus versus Imperium versus Grizzled Young Veterans versus Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster in a 4-way ladder match for the NXT UK Tag Team Championship at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. That was an intro. I called Allison Kay versus Thunder Rosa the lowest profile match on this list. This is probably the least seen match, but these are 8 guys that prove the depth of the NXT UK Tag Team division without, well, no, I was going to say without resorting to psychotic stunts, but yeah, double senton, very nice. This match shows that the roots that the Hardys and Edge and Christian, that the Dudley Boys, that every other tag team from the early 2000s sowed have been reaped. And they've been reaped to great effect by teams from around the world. Eventually you end up with a team in Gallus that wins this match, but doesn't really gain a victory. They are hurt. Number 2. Walter vs. Ilya Dragunov for the NXT United Kingdom Championship, NXT UK, October 29th, 2020. You know that stuff I was saying about Balor and O'Reilly being a brutal match? This match looked at me and insulted my mother. Genuinely speaking, this match is one of the only ones of 2020 that made really good use of there being no crowd in attendance. Watching Walter and Dragunov turn each other into dust little by little in what could be called a pro wrestling snuff film is an experience you can't really shake. This match stays with you long after the 30-plus minute runtime. Getting down to the ending where, in no uncertain terms, Ilya Dragunov does not give up. Ilya Dragunov's body gives out. Unfortunately for him, that means he loses the championship that he was chasing. But let's be honest, I've got more respect for Ilya Dragunov now than I ever could have in any other match. On top of that, Walter is on the cusp of breaking Pete Dunne's record for most days as NXT United Kingdom Champion, and I think he deserves it. And my pick for the number 1 best match of 2020 is Bayley vs. Sasha, inside Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown Women's Championship, WWE Hell in a Cell. Is it controversial? Sure. Do I ruffle a lot of feathers thinking about it? Absolutely. Are there people who will absolutely try and get me for them? Down. Yeah. But at the end of the day, a good match is a good match, especially when it's got this kind of story behind it. 2020 was the year of Bayley and Sasha. They took over after everything kind of shut down, and they said, well, we might as well have fun with this. And they did. They had more fun than I think anybody else did on the roster. When Bayley and Sasha broke up, we all knew where it was going. I figured they'd hold off until WrestleMania, but you get Bayley and Sasha inside Hell in a Cell, and these two go absolutely ham. You see them using kendo sticks, tables, whatever they can find to their advantage in the best of 3 Hell in a Cell matches that existed on that night. That should tell you more about the quality of Bayley and Sasha than anything else. At the end of the day, this is the match of the year, not because I'm a Bayley mark, but because this is the greatest use of a stipulation that I've seen in a very long time. That includes the dog collar match. Do you think I missed out on a lot? Absolutely. I know I did. But, do me a favor, drop me a comment. What's your match of the year? We'll see you guys next time. I'm Tony Chacon, this is Couch Potato Lucha Libre. If you don't mind, get some zombies to take out.